The Highway Turnoff, Part 1. It was past midnight when I decided to pull over. I'd been driving for 9 hours straight, headlights carving through a stretch of highway that looked the same for miles. Dark asphalt, broken guardrails, and the occasional green sign covered in bugs. When I saw the old gas station up ahead, I felt relief more than anything. One flickering light, a small diner next to it, and a single car parked by the pumps. It looked abandoned, but familiar, like something from a dream I'd already forgotten. I parked, stepped out, and stretched my back. The air was cold, colder than it should have been for that part of the state. The sign above the diner door read, Eddie's Fuel and Food. The food part was missing 2 letters, just hanging there. Inside, the lights buzzed. The smell was old coffee and metal. Not rot, not mold, just old. A man stood behind the counter, back turned, restocking shelves. Coffee machines still work? I asked. He didn't turn, just said, been a quiet night. I nodded, waiting for him to face me. He didn't. The clock above the door ticked once, loud, and I noticed the hands weren't moving. 12:07, frozen. I poured coffee, dropped $1 on the counter, and walked outside. That's when I saw it, my truck door open. I froze. I knew I'd locked it. Always did. Inside, nothing was missing. But the driver's seat was adjusted, pushed back like someone taller had been sitting there. On the passenger seat was a receipt. Eddie's Fuel and Food. $1, 12:07 a.m. The ink was fresh, but I hadn't paid yet. The Highway Turnoff. Part 2, I stood there staring at the receipt, the paper shaking slightly in my hand. The ink wasn't just fresh, it was warm, like it had just rolled out of a printer. I looked back toward the diner. The lights were still flickering, but now the inside was empty. The man behind the counter was gone. The door, which I was sure had been propped open, was now shut tight. I hesitated, hand on the handle of my truck. Then I saw movement in the glass reflection, a shadow passing behind me, quick, silent. I spun around. Nothing. The road was empty in both directions. The single car by the pumps was gone. No sound, no wind, no engine fading into the distance. Just gone. I climbed into the truck, locked the doors, and checked the clock on the dashboard. 12:07. I blinked. Waited. Still 12:07. The GPS flickered on its own. For a second, it displayed my location, Eddie's Fuel and Food. Then the screen glitched, replaced by black text on gray background. Continue route. I turned the key. The truck didn't start, just a dry click. In the side mirror, the diner lights dimmed one by one until only the sign remained, glowing faintly red. And then I saw someone standing beneath it. It wasn't the man from inside. This one was taller, wearing my jacket. I stared hard, tried to convince myself it was just the angle, some trick of light, but then he raised his arm, slowly, and pointed directly at me. The GPS beeped again. New text appeared on the screen. You've been here before. The Highway Turnoff, Part 3. My throat went dry. The screen blinked again, the words fading and reappearing like a heartbeat. You've been here before. I looked back through the windshield. The figure under the red sign was gone. Just empty road, wet asphalt, and the hum of the old lights. I turned the key again. The truck roared to life this time. I didn't think. I just drove. The tires screeched as I hit the highway, pushing the pedal down until the speedometer needle shook. The further I went, the darker it got. No cars, no signs, no exits. Just an endless stretch of black. I checked the clock. Still 12:07. I drove another mile, or maybe 10. It was impossible to tell. Then, through the fog ahead, I saw it again. The same gas station, same flickering light, same crooked Eddie sign. My chest tightened. No way. I hadn't turned. I slowed down. The receipt on the passenger seat slid to the floor. A new one was there. Same handwriting, same timestamp. But this one said, Eddie's Fuel and Food. $1, paid cash. Thank you, Daniel. My name. I hadn't told anyone my name. Hands trembling, I reached for the receipt, but before I could touch it, the radio crackled to life, even though it was turned off. Static. Then a voice. Daniel, don't stop. The headlights flickered. For half a second, I saw a movement on the side of the road. Dozens of figures standing still in the dark, all facing the highway. And among them, a taller one, wearing my jacket. The radio crackled again. You'll never leave if you look back. I pressed the pedal down until the world blurred. When I dared to glance at the mirror, the road behind me was empty. But the diner's red sign was still visible in the distance, glowing faintly through the fog. 1207, always.
The wrong call. Part 1, I work tech support for a mid-sized software company. We handle system maintenance and internal calls for employees. Pretty boring stuff. Most nights it's just me, fluorescent lights, and a half-empty vending machine. The call came in at 2:46 a.m. Internal line. Caller ID. Extension 312. That made no sense. Line 312 had been disconnected 2 years ago after the server room fire. I even helped remove the hardware myself. I stared at the blinking light, thinking it was a glitch. Then it rang again. And again. Finally, I answered. IT support, I said, trying to sound casual. There was silence. Then faint static like a bad connection. After a few seconds, a man's voice came through. Calm, tired. Hey, is this still tech support? Yeah, I said slowly. Who's calling? He paused. Then, this is Daniel from the night crew. The cooling unit's acting up again. My stomach dropped. We hadn't had a night crew since the fire. Daniel was one of the names on the memorial plaque in the lobby. I swallowed hard. Daniel, which room are you calling from? Server room C, he said. It's getting hot in here. I looked at the monitoring screen beside me. Room C was offline. No power, no temperature reading, nothing. Can you send someone down here? His voice asked. It's starting to smoke again. The line went dead. The wrong call. Part 2, I sat frozen, the dial tone buzzing in my ear. When I finally put the phone down, my hands were trembling. Room C didn't exist anymore, not since the rebuild. The section where it used to be was sealed off, concrete walls, new wiring. Nobody was supposed to be down there. Still, my brain went into autopilot. I grabbed my flashlight and my key card, telling myself there had to be a technical error. Ghost didn't call on internal lines. The elevator ride down felt longer than usual. Basement level 2 smelled faintly of dust and burned plastic. Most of the lights worked, but the corridor to room C was darker than the rest. The new paint never quite covered the old scorch marks. I reached the old server door. It shouldn't have opened, but when I swiped my card, the reader blinked green. Inside, it was colder than I remembered. Rows of dead racks stretched into the dark, cables hanging loose like veins. The floor was covered in a thin layer of dust, except for one set of footprints leading to the far corner. I followed them slowly, flashlight trembling. They stopped by the far wall, right where the old cooling unit had been. That's when I saw it. A phone, an old black desk phone, sitting on a small metal table. Receiver off the hook. The line light was blinking. I picked it up. Silence. Then, faintly, it's getting hot again. I turned toward the corner. The air shimmered. Heat distortion. And just as I noticed the smell of burnt wiring, the sprinklers clicked on. Only nothing came out. The wrong call. Part 3, a softness came from above, but no water. Only the sound of pressure in the pipes, and the faint crackle of something burning. I backed toward the door, flashlight shaking. There was no visible fire, but the heat was real, building, suffocating. I pressed the handle. It didn't move. The keypad on the wall flickered to life, even though the power was supposed to be cut off. For numbers glowed red, 0312, the same as the extension that had called me. Then the phone rang again, loud this time, echoing in the empty room. I picked it up with a shaking hand. You said you'd fix it, the voice whispered. You said it wouldn't happen again. I swallowed hard. Who are you? Static. Then, I'm still in here. The line clicked dead. The room went completely silent. Then the emergency lights shut off, one by one, from the far end of the hall toward me. In the darkness, the only light left was a red glow from the phone's number pad. I stepped back, heart pounding, until my foot hit something metal. I looked down. Half buried in the dust was a small, melted nameplate. Daniel, Night Maintenance Crew. The air felt heavy, hard to breathe. I dropped the flashlight and ran for the door, slamming my shoulder into it until it gave way. When I looked back one last time, the phone's red light was still blinking. By the time I reached control room, the monitor for room C was online again, for the first time in 2 years. Temperature, 118 degrees Celsius. Status, active. The call log beside it showed one final entry. Outgoing call, 2:46 a.m., extension 312, room 119. Part 1, I was too tired to keep driving. The GPS showed another 50 miles to the next town, and my eyes were already stinging. So when I saw a small neon sign that said vacancy, Moonlight Motel, I pulled over without thinking twice. The lobby smelled like cigarettes and bleach. An old man behind the counter didn't look up from his newspaper. One night, I said, sliding my ID across. He handed me a key, not a card, an actual metal key. Room 119, he said. Don't mind the noise. Pipes act up at night. The hallway was narrow, carpet faded, lights buzzing. When I unlocked the door, a blast of stale air hit me, peeling wallpaper, humming mini-fridge, and a bed that looked like it had been there since the 80s. Perfect. I showered, left the TV on for background noise, and lay down. The clock on the nightstand glowed 12:31 a.m. Somewhere behind the wall, water pipes rattled. Then, through the static of the TV, I heard it, a voice muffled from the next room. At first, I thought it was the TV next door. But then it spoke louder. Hey, can you hear me? It was my voice. I froze, turned the TV volume down. Please, open the door. I stared at the wall, separating me from room 120. The voice on the other side whispered again, lower now, like it was right against the wall. I know you can hear me. You checked in too. Room 119. Part 2, I sat up slowly, my pulse hammering in my neck. The TV hissed quietly behind me, light flickering against the wall. I stared at the cheap wallpaper, half expecting to see a shadow move behind it. Who's there? I finally said, my voice shaking. Silence. Then the same voice, mine, came again, only closer, like it was whispering directly into the wall. You shouldn't have stopped here. I stood, my hand brushing the coal plaster. Who are you? I asked again. No answer. I stepped out into the hallway. It was empty, quiet, just a low hum of fluorescent lights. The door to room 120 was closed, but I noticed a light under the door was flickering, like from a TV inside. I knocked once. Nothing. Twice. The flickering stopped. Then a soft creak from inside, as if someone stepped closer. I leaned in. I can't hear you, I said. No reply. The air in the hall suddenly smelled faintly like smoke, burned dust, maybe. Then from inside room 120, my voice again. Don't open it this time. The words froze me in place. I glanced down and realized the key in my hand didn't say 119. It said 120. I looked at my door. The number plate was gone. Just a darker square on the wall where it had been. From behind the door I was standing in front of, I heard a knock 3 times. Slow, heavy, from inside the room. Room 119. Part 3, my breath caught in my throat. The knocks came again, same rhythm, deliberate, like someone knew I was still there. I took a step back, the key trembling in my hand. The air felt thick, heavy, like it was hard to breathe. Who's in there? I whispered. No answer. Just a faint sound of a TV starting again, muffled voices, static, and then, through it, my own voice again. You left the door open last time. I stared at the handle. It wasn't moving, but the lock clicked. Once. Unlocked. I should have run. Instead, I pushed the door open. The room looked identical to mine. Same bedspread, same flickering TV, same open suitcase at the foot of the bed, except the suitcase was mine. Same scuff tag, same folded shirt on top. And on the bed, someone was lying there, face turned toward the wall. Same hair, same jacket. I stepped closer, heart pounding in my ears. Hey, I said softly. The figure on the bed exhaled, shallow, trembling. Then, without moving its head, It whispered in my voice, "Close the door." The lights went out. For a second, total silence. Then I felt movement, the air shifting beside me. Something brushed my arm, warm, human, too close. I turned and stumbled into the hallway, slamming the door behind me. When I looked up, the number plate had changed again. It now said 118. Back in my room, or what I thought was mine, my suitcase was gone. The bed was made untouched. And from the next room, faint and steady through the wall, came a familiar voice. "You shouldn't have checked in again.